Good afternoon, everybody. This meeting of the Advancement Committee, also known as the Good News Committee, is now in session. And on behalf of Vice Chairman Paul Manning and members Tom DePasquale and Jim Murray and Barry Ellis, John Now and Robert Hardy, we want to welcome a special guest who are with us today, and President Ryan will make an introduction later on in the session as part of yet another exciting gift announcement. So I'd like now to ask Mark if he would lead us in a fundraising progress report, and this could perhaps be the best news report we've ever had here. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to be here today. Peter's going to spend some time talking about the campaign, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the overall campaign, but more of time on year-to-date performance. But to LF's point, we're humbled to say that the last time we were together, we were about $35 million away from hitting the $5 billion goal for the campaign. And thankfully, due to so many, that happened before the end of the year. So I think everyone's aware of that news. But before I get started on the year-to-date report, I do want to play a short video for everybody here. As I think all of you have heard over the years, we've spent a lot of time in this campaign trying to think about culture amongst the team, camaraderie, breaking down silos, and I'm sure Peter's going to touch on this a little bit. But when we hit the $5 billion number, the president was kind enough to come over and say a few remarks to the team, and we actually played a video with the team actually talking about culture and advancement. So if
it sounds cliche to say this, but it is so true. We're literally changing lives every day. But it is so true. We're literally changing lives every day.
Knowing the kind of work that we're doing and what it means is extremely motivating for us.
It's an opportunity to grow, and I think that spirit is what keeps me personally coming back every day.
To be part of a university that stands for such values and such traditions, and to be included in a group that is propelling this forward is just an awesome opportunity.
An important part of enjoying a career is being at a place where you feel valued and you feel like you have space to have a voice. UVA has given me that space.
It's really the best of all the worlds. We have top medical care. We also have an outstanding education with a long history of championing democracy and thinking openly.
It's constantly transforming. It's constantly moving.
I love its ambitions.
There's always things to do: sports, the arts, culture, people, food.
I love so many things about UVA, but I would say that I really love that contagious enthusiasm probably most of all, because it can be down the road in Charlottesville or it can be halfway around the world. That spirit is so strong.
Culture is everything, right? And that's why I'm here for 4.5 years. The culture is incredible. Our culture is one built around collaboration, trust, and putting the tools in place to enable our colleagues to succeed, especially now working in a hybrid environment.
What I think is really the best is the message that we've gotten since the pandemic, which is you should work wherever you do your best work.
And certainly with the work we do becoming that much more digital, it's not essential that we're all in Charlottesville all the time. However, I think University Advancement does a great job where the focus is the community.
It is really incredible when you think about the resources that we have given our teams, our weeks and days of learning, our communities of practice, all of that time helping to build community, to helping us to engage with one another and build our networks.
Once you're in the community, you're never not at home. And people who know you will always try and do something for you.
We understand if we're going to achieve at really high levels, all of the individuals in the organization need to be empowered, they need to be entrepreneurial, they need to know that leadership has their back, and they need to know that they can take some risks.
University advancement gives me plenty of opportunities to grow within my own role, but also within the community itself. I'm not just a fundraiser. I am a part of this community.
I love my colleagues across University Advancement and across UVA. I mean, I learn every day from my colleagues.
This is really, really a good place to work. And it's a good place to work because of the people who are here.
And it's really fun to collaborate with people who are so creative and passionate about their work.
Everyone is so impressive at the end of the day, regardless of someone's level, their department, the nature of the work that they do. It's hard to be more impressed day to day, but I find that I constantly am.
I don't think I understood when I first joined, but what I'm helping do for UVA is helping provide more opportunities for all those who are coming to not only advance UVA itself, but to advance the world, create servant leaders, create impactful citizens. The power of philanthropy is the power of opportunity.
Whether it's huge development gifts, whether it's alumni participation gifts, whether it's volunteer time, all of those things go into creating this community that allows UVA to move forward, to be strong, to support our students and our faculty and our staff and our fellow alums and families at an exceptional level.
You know, the work that we're doing in healthcare is advancing research, we're providing the best in patient care, and we're educating the next generation of doctors and nurses.
To be able to raise philanthropic support for those that don't come from a background where opportunity is abundant, it's a pretty powerful thing to be involved in and extremely rewarding.
We are all working towards a collective purpose and focus, and I think that motivation allows us to do our work on a more meaningful level. It's one of those times in the state of our world and the state of our country where we can do something positive for other people. It's strong and powerful work. So it's an honor and a privilege.
This video obviously for some recruiting, Assistant Vice President for Advancement Communications and her team who pulled this together. And I think what was really fun about it for us was there was a small charge. Just let our team talk about their experience in the workplace. So it's something we're excited about. Obviously, have a very talented group. Speaking about their talents, I do want to hit on some of the accomplishments so far this year from a fundraising process. As we look at total fundraising since July 1, we have now crossed $450 million for the year since July 1. That is up 23% year over year. And when you look at it against our 5-year average, it's pretty much tracking the same. We're up 22% year over year. Cash is also looking good, not as high a percentage increase, but we're at a 6% increase year over year. We're at about $265 million as of now. This year particularly, which is interesting, as we lead up to goal, obviously the markets have helped us a lot. But what's been really a driver even more this year than other years has been our commitments over $1 million. We're now, I think, at about 73 gifts of $1 million or more since July 1, and that's up 40% year over year. So we obviously had a very strong year last year, but being up 40% there is great. And that's about 67% of the money we've raised this year has come from gifts of $1 million or more. Beyond the philanthropy aspects of it, we're also continuing to focus on a variety of other things, which I want to touch on quickly. Last year was a banner year for us as it regards to event planning, both virtual and in person, setting the record for the number of events hosted. We're on par with that this year. We're up a couple points over last year, but we've hosted about 650 events so far here on grounds and around the country. So we're impressed with that. The other thing I want to touch on, because I know we've talked about it a lot in the past, has been undergraduate alumni participation rates. So this is an interesting area because around the country, I don't care if you're a public or a private, pretty much everybody is seeing declining alumni participation rates. And this has been going on for about the last 5, 6, 7 years. Interestingly enough, we're on the rise and have been continued to be on the rise. So we got some data the other day. U.S. News and World Report does not report out on this anymore, but we still submit the information so we can look at some of the details of this. So if you look at national public universities in 2023, we were ranked 14th in the country. And in 2024, we're now at 6th in the country. So big jump. That, as we've talked about in some of the other meetings, the data on this lags a little bit. So we're looking at fiscal year 21 data, which is when we were about 14.5% alumni participation. We went to 16% the next year, which is what this data ties to. We ended fiscal year 23 with 18% participation, so we're going up about 2 percentage points per year. So I think we're going to climb in the rankings again this year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see us jump into the top couple regarding undergraduate alumni participation rates. But I will say this is being noticed a lot. Rob Allen, who many of you have met, and Heather Engel, both senior members of my team, went to a meeting for me here a couple weeks ago, an industry meeting, and their comment when they returned was, this is what everybody was talking about. How is Virginia going up when everybody else is going down? So we're excited to see not just the large gifts that we continue to see, but also participation rates continue to climb. I do want to also give a shout out to 2 of our schools that have recently surpassed their goal for the campaign. As the president has mentioned in the past, one of the things we really want to focus on here in the last 16 months of the campaign is making sure all the schools and units, and not just the university, surpass their goal. So here within the last couple weeks, the McIntyre School surpassed their goal of $250 million. And just this week, the law school surpassed their goal of $400 million. A couple others are pretty close. College of Arts and Sciences is at $665 million of their $750 million goal, which is about 90%. The health system is now over 80% of their $1 billion goal, which includes nursing and also medicine. University Library is at $90 million of their $100 million goal. And finally, the Batten School and the Miller Center are just shy of 90%. So we hopefully by the next time we meet, we'll have a couple more schools and units to report out on. Overall in the campaign, again, I'm not going to share much here, but I will say it's been really heartwarming and humbling to see that things didn't stop once we hit 5. And so not only did we hit 5, but as of yesterday, we crossed 5.1 billion in total commitments for the campaign. And when you think about all the different things that we keep track of performance-wise for the team, I thought you may find this interesting to make sure we're not lagging at all. Our number of visits across grounds with alumni and friends is up 13% year over year. People who we haven't talked to in the past, new relationships is up 8%, and gift conversations is also up 8% year over year. So in sum, we're not slowing down. We're going to continue to push forward as hard as we can, but we're thankful to the board and thankful for all of your support. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions after Peter's done.
So thank you very much, Mark. And while we know that this campaign isn't over, this campaign ends in June of 2025. This is just a remarkable moment that we ought to stop just a moment and reflect upon and realize that it was made possible by the incredible generosity of our alumni and our friends and as well as their parents. And I think we should also give a very special thanks to President Ryan and his leadership team, to Mark and the team that we just saw on the video, and to Peter and his committee. So please join me in a round of applause for a wonderful accomplishment. So we've witnessed the outstanding leadership and support that our committee chair, Peter Grant, has given us, and we're just delighted to have him with us today to share some of his reflections on the Honor the Future campaign. So, Peter?
LF, thank you very much for the invitation to do this, and thank you to the board for providing the time. I think I'd like to start really where you and Mark both started, and that's to express the appreciation for all of our loyal alumni and friends without whom this conversation wouldn't be taking place, and to also reinforce the fact that June 2025 is embedded in all of our minds, and this is not a victory lap. We are on the march, and we'll continue on the campaign. As I started to think about and pull together some notes for this session, I thought it might be an interesting exercise to use a little ChatGPT and see what came back out. And after querying a couple of times, one of the first things that spit back at me was, sounds like you ought to raise and reset the campaign goal. I exited immediately and went back to my Word file. But again, we are not done, and we'll continue. I think I might take a minute to set a little bit of context for the launch of the campaign, and then traverse through the journey we've been on. Early in 2017, the university commissioned a outside consultant to do a study of where we stood in our philanthropic platform. GG&A, based in Chicago, is very well known and used by many of the recognized names in higher education. And they went about their study, which was completed in the summer of 2017. And a few of us at that point traveled to the offices in New York of one of LF's predecessors, John Griffin, to sit with John Gleer, one of the principals of GG&A, and to hear his not only executive summary, but John can be very expansive, his more detailed version of the report that was in a notebook about this big. I think that even through the 90 minutes, it was hard not to focus in on a few critical points out of that report that set the stage for some of the deliberations we had to have in the coming weeks. We were ranked against a peer group of 25 selective institutions, both public and private, many Ivies and other names you'd recognize. And the report was somewhat sobering. When you looked at our 10-year compound annual growth rate in philanthropy, we significantly lagged that peer group. I think we were in the bottom quartile, if I'm not mistaken. When you looked at penetration against donors capable of contributing $100,000 more to a campaign like this, we also lagged significantly, and we're at the back of the pack. And then the third factor that was seared in my memory that I can't forget is that in terms of cost to raise a dollar, we were significantly above that peer group. And again, all those were very sobering statistics and things that we were going to have to focus on in thinking about designing a campaign with the aspirations we had. At the end of that meeting, I think around that table, we looked at John Glitter and said, well, in our shoes, what would you do? How would you think about a campaign goal? And at the time he said, I would not set a goal any higher than the $3 billion of your prior campaign, because I don't think you can get there. So we all left that meeting, and it gave us a lot to think about and absorb, which we did in the following weeks. About that time, or right on top of that time, Jim Ryan was appointed as the next president of the university in August of 2017, but would remain at Harvard for the following year. Several of us, again, a small group, made a trip up to Cambridge and sat in Jim's conference room and had a discussion about the campaign goal and how we would set that goal. I think we were all in agreement there would be a significant additional investment needed in infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, people, services in Mark's area, and in technology also in Mark's broader area. And I think there was general agreement about that. We had a long discussion about the belief and the capacity of our alumni to go beyond where we had historically. And thinking about that compound annual growth rate, we've been banging around in the $200 to $300 million a year for a number of years in that prior 10 preceding years to the campaign's launch. And it was going to take something significantly better than that and higher than that and resources against that to reach an aspirational goal that was at $3 billion or anything higher. The last thing I remember about that discussion was there was a school a little bit to the south of us in Chapel Hill that was approaching reaching their campaign goal of $4.3 billion. And I don't think there was anybody in the room that was prepared or willing to set a campaign goal below that. And so coming out of that meeting, the campaign goal was established, and it was $5 billion. And we wanted to get that done in advance of the soft portion of the campaign, which was rolling out in October of 2017. And so that's the message we came back with. I think in thinking about the challenges to a campaign like this, all we had to do was think about and look back to the prior campaign, which was intended to be 2005 to 2010, and that $3 billion campaign. Many of you remember that ended up being an 8-year campaign that extended to 2013. The financial crisis in 2008, 2009 severely impacted philanthropy, not only at the University of Virginia, but around the country, and extended that campaign. And so we had to take that into account, and we also thought about a timeline for the campaign. That timeline ended up being established from that 2017 soft launch to June 30th, which we've referenced before, of 2025, knowing that somewhere in that period we would experience an economic cycle and the associated market volatility that makes fundraising challenging at times. And we've certainly seen that. I won't go into market histories, but 2022 was a very difficult market year. The spike in interest rates this last year, all those things can get in the way of a campaign. In our case, we've been very fortunate that our donors have been stalwart and continue to drive the type of numbers that we've needed to reach this campaign goal. What we could not have seen was the pandemic. And it affected all of us on a personal level, in our businesses, in our homes, in our communities. But one of the things relative to this campaign is when you can't have people out on the road or regularly engaging with your donor base, it's certainly going to impact your campaign. And we saw some of that, keeping in mind that for many of our alumni and friends, their first line relationship with the university is an advancement officer, somebody they talk to regularly through the course of a year. And a lot of that was interrupted during that period, and yet we were able to weather some of that in fairly good shape. I think the last thing that I'd focus on here that we also could not have predicted is the cultural, societal, and political issues that hang over the country and have a polarized nation at this point. Hard to believe that that wouldn't spill into the college campuses around the country, and it certainly has here. For some of our alumni, who we've probably lost for a period of time, they felt like they don't recognize or they don't see in the university something they saw or experienced when they were here. And that's certainly been a part of some of the conversations we have when we're out on the road. Thankfully, they're not in any way a majority, but there are certainly people that we probably have lost for some period of time. On the other hand, I think we've retained the support of a great many more people who believe that this university can stand as a leader or the ideal for a marketplace of ideas, freedom of expression, open discourse, and many of them ask in the conversation we have, if that can't happen at the University of Virginia, where can it happen? And I think that's what we've benefited from, as many of those people have stayed with us and continue to be supporters of the objectives of this campaign and the broader university. Moving to what worked and some of the keys to success in the campaign, one of the things I point to is a different approach for this campaign in establishing goals by the schools, units, and foundations. It didn't take long as I began to work in the early stages to talk to people about the prior campaign in which they all complained there was a campaign goal set at $3 billion, and then the individual targets for schools, units, and foundations was pushed down to those groups. That did not happen with this campaign. There was an extensive body of work put into at each of these schools and units, a build-up from the bottom up of what their campaign goals would be and where those funds would go, where we would be successful. I had a front row seat during that period on two boards that I sat in, Darden and the college at the time. Provost Balkin was dean of the college at that time. That process was a very rigorous and kind of boil the ocean process that brought a lot of things to the fore, many of which couldn't be addressed. But I think that really contributed to the success of the campaign, and we look forward to hearing that college goal exceeded the next time we possibly meet. I think another important thing to think about is the basis point draw against the endowment. That supported the advancement effort that we thought was required, investing in services and in people, and as I mentioned before, technology. And a lot of that has happened. A lot of that continues. Credit to Mark and his team for a lot that has happened there. We could go into massive detail on what some of that change has meant. Anecdotally, I point to one thing where planned giving historically had not been a significant part of university campaigns. I think at the time the campaign launched, Mark, there were 2 or 2.5 full-time equivalents in that group. There's now roughly a dozen, and the group is headed by a very professional individual that has both tax and estate career experience as well as philanthropic experience, advancement experience. It is a resource across grounds to all the schools, and it's been a significant contributor to the campaign success thus far. Matching funds, which we can't thank the Board of Visitors enough for being in support of through more than one round, which has resonated with our alumni base and with our donors. You've heard Mark before talk about some of the numbers, in excess of 600,000 bicentennial scholarships created out of this program and in this time frame, and 135 roughly endowed professorships. It gave alumni and donors a signal about the intentions of the university, the things that were important to us, a feeling of partnership with their donation, and feeling like somebody had skin in the game with them. And time and again, we had these conversations, and it was a very important part of those funds that were raised, having a total impact exceeding $1 billion, I think close to $1.1 billion. And so, we thank the board for that vision and for that support. Athletic success is another key factor. In the current environment with conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, it's a very confusing time, and so it's hard to imagine this as being a key to success. But we should probably remind everyone that 2019 and the national championship year for the basketball team was our most significant fundraising year in the campaign. It has an effect on people. It has a pride effect. They're equally proud to see the women's swim team or the men's tennis team or other teams perform at a significant level nationally, both in rankings and in championships. But it does have a feel-good effect on our donor base, and so I would never underestimate that. And lastly, I'd point to, Mark talked a minute ago about events, and it's probably some of the numbers you can get lost in the blur, but in-person events are very important with our alumni base. We're fortunate to have an alumni base that generally had a very positive experience in their time here, and they're happy to and want to engage with other Virginia alums and with the university administration, frankly, when they have the opportunity to do so. We made a concerted effort to visit regularly major cities and secondary cities throughout the entire course of the campaign, as well as attending significant athletic contests, which presented an opportunity for people to meet and greet and be around Jim Ryan and his team and be around other alumni. We think this contributed significantly to the engagement and the connectivity with the objectives of the university and the campaign while it was in full stride. That's probably a good place to express some individual appreciation from everybody that's been part of the campaign to people that have made our job easier. In this case, talking about traveling around, going to events. We'd like to thank Jim Ryan for his time and availability. I think all of you are familiar with the stresses and the time constraints on a university president in the current environment. It's not easy to go out of the office for 2 or 3 days at a time and be on the road and not be able to access your office and your phone and your email and everything when you need or want to. Jim was very good about his time, and I think that's contributed significantly to the success of the campaign. I see John Jeffries in the back. I want to thank him for the contributions that he made in the early innings of the campaign, where we dragged him over from the law school to Central Grounds and asked him to sit in Madison Hall and provide some leadership and experience to us. And John, you did that through a great deal of institutional memory, and we appreciate that. I want to thank the gentleman on our right, Mark Llewellyn, for execution against a massive set of goals. And I'm not just talking about the campaign goal. It's all the other objectives we set that we thought would be the formula, the part of success. Mark has no peer in his willingness to work and his work ethic, and I thank him for that. And it translates into his advancement team as well, where we've seen tremendous effort and output through the advancement team across grounds. And one of the things that we weren't necessarily looking for at the outset of the campaign, I think that the idea of shared services, shared support, and shared resources has led to many of the independent units, development units, advancement units at different schools to come under Mark's leadership and central advancement. And I think that has cut significantly into that. When I mentioned a cost to raise $1 before, John Glear, our consultant, said some of that's a function of your archaic structure, 27 foundations, 17 fundraising arms. We've dramatically simplified that, and I think the advancement teams are in good hands with Mark's leadership. I'd finally like to thank the Board of Visitor Advancement Chairs that we've worked with through the piece. I referenced John Griffin earlier, who was the advancement chair when the campaign was launched, who was succeeded by Jimmy Reyes, who's no longer on the board either, and more recently, L.F. Payne. We couldn't do what we do without the your presence around this table and the support for what we're doing and the priorities that we set in any given time frame. So I want to thank all those people. And I want to conclude, my remarks before taking any questions, if there are any, by again acknowledging all of our friends and donors and expressing appreciation. I think there's well in excess of 200,000 people now that have contributed to this campaign, which is remarkable, and we couldn't have done this without all of their support. And at the same time, I need to point out that a campaign of this magnitude requires some significant vision and philanthropy on the part of people that see an opportunity or something that's important to them that they think aligns with the university priorities and make significant gifts that establish the future foundation for what students can experience here at the university. And I would point to a few of those that you've heard about before, but these were important contributions from people that partnered with us and have made a difference in not only in this campaign, but in the difference of the future of the university. I'd start with the School of Data Science, Tessa and the Richard Rader Performing Arts Center, the Carson Institute for Democracy, all three of which will be anchor tenants in the Emmett Ivy Corridor, which is yet another symbol and signal of the growth and where we're headed. The soon-to-be-open Contemplative Sciences Center, the ongoing McIntyre expansion project, which has been the beneficiary of their campaign, which Mark pointed out has just concluded, the Virginia Athletics Master Plan, and finally the Paul and Diane Manning Institute of Biotechnology. All of these are important signals to our alumni, friends, and to our donor base, both in their individuality and in the collective purpose that they serve in aligning with the strategic goals of the university and everything that we set out to do. So with that, I thank you for the time and would be happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Peter, thank you very much, and I think we can all see how very fortunate we are to have had Peter in this role and how much of the success is due to his really great efforts and the great efforts of his committee. So with that, are there questions of Peter or Mark or comments that folks would like to make? President Ryan?
I'd just like to say thanks to you, Peter. We could not have done this without you, period, full stop. The amount of time and effort you put into this, the credibility that you bring to any discussion about UVA has honestly made an enormous difference. So you deserve a great deal of thanks. So I have one question. What should we focus on between now and the end of the campaign?
I think there's plenty to focus on. The first I would say is any boost that we can give to those that are trying to cross the finish line, I think is very important, because all those people have worked every bit as hard as the people that have already achieved their goals, and I think that probably just need any additional support and strength we can give to them. And I think Jim, another part of this is, as everyone around this table knows, fundraising never really ends. The campaign date is out there, but these conversations continue. This campaign, I think, still has a great deal of momentum. There are many constructive conversations that continue, and we should remain focused on those. We can probably relax a little bit, but not lose sight of the fact that we did put a calendar timeline in place for a reason. And so I think everybody that I interact with on Mark's team it remains focused on that, and I don't think you're going to have to encourage anybody to run to the finish. I think they're going to do it on their own.
Other questions or comments? If not, Peter and Mark, once again, thank you very, very much. And this is really the best news ever in the Good News Committee, and so thank you. And as our last item, I'd like to turn the floor over to Jim for an announcement.
We have someone joining us. I think we have someone joining. Yes.
Is it virtual?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
She just did. She just did.
You can talk amongst yourselves.
UNC conspiracy.
Where are the grandkids when you need them?
That's my mother gave up.
Calling the grandkids now.
It's like a Carolina internet connection that got going on here.
Oh, I went from 37.
Please. Been there, done that.
You know what the issue is?
She doesn't know how to hit on mute. She doesn't know how to hit on mute. She gets that phone that keeps hitting the screen.
I know. But I think she's neat. I think it's us.
Oh, you do? No, I think it's her. I don't know, we'll see.
What?
Struggle. Dog?
Reboot's always the one.
Gonna do the run.
Okay.
I've got my support.
No, I'm muted. That sounded promising.
She's muted. She's gonna mute herself. Should be ready.
Hey! Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Hello?
Yes, it's fine. Yeah, no big deal.
You can hear us?
No big deal.
You hear us?
Marjorie?
Is there any way I can just read to them on the phone?
Oh, I don't think she knows that we can hear her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Can you send her a message?
Or call her.
Just call him.
Just call her.
Yeah, can somebody call her? I would maybe mute her too. Susan? Debbie, can you?
Me.
Okay.
Could be any of us.
Yeah.
I have her number, so.
You want to see if you me that tape, Wow. What's that?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh my God! All right. Well, that was easy. So,
The old joke, how many wahoos does it take to change?
yeah, I know. We've got this down now. So, Marjorie, welcome. I am going to introduce you to the group here and then give you an opportunity to speak. So, bear with me. It's my pleasure to introduce Marjorie Harrison Webb, who's joined us for today's session as a representative of the Harrison family. For those of you who might not know, the Harrison family have been generous UVA supporters, beginning with Marjorie's father and mother, David and Mary Harrison. David earned his bachelor's degree from UVA in 1939 and his law degree in 1941. He had a successful career as a lawyer, investment banker, and farmer. Over the course of their lifetimes, David and Mary generously supported areas across UVA with their philanthropy, including the schools of law and medicine, the College and Graduate School of Arts and Sciences, the University Library, athletics, Jefferson Scholars, and much more, dedicating funds to professorships, scholarships, and capital projects. The Harrison family has continued to give back to the university through their family foundations and through David Harrison's estate. They also continue to serve in a number of volunteer roles across grounds. Today, I am delighted to share some exciting news. The Harrison family is back at it and has decided to continue the support in two parts, representing two different gifts. A new $25 million gift from the Harrison Foundation will name the Harrison Family Olympic Sports Center, and a $30 million gift from the Harrison Foundation and the Mary Anderson Harrison Foundation will create the Harrison Family Research Center, a new translational research center in Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases in the Manning Institute of Biotechnology. I think that deserves a round of applause. So let me tell you a little bit more about both gifts, starting with the Research Center first. So the Harrison Family Research Center will coordinate and centralize our research programs around Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases and will impact patients and families in the Commonwealth and well beyond. The lion's share of the gift, $20 million, will create a dedicated space for the research center within the Manning Institute building, which began construction, as you know, back in December. $5 million of the gift will be used to create a university professorship in neuroscience and recruit a preeminent scholar who will eventually lead the center. That professorship will be matched with an additional $5 million from the university's bicentennial dollars. The remaining $5 million will support additional position and staff and research support. As for the Olympic Sports Center, the Harrison family made us aware of this commitment several years ago, but asked to keep it anonymous until now. The Harrison Family Olympic Sports Center is part of the Virginia Athletics Master Plan that Peter referenced earlier, and it will provide support to more than 750 student athletes. Scheduled to open in summer of 2025, it includes a renovation of the McHugh Center and will allow UVA's field hockey, cross-country, track and field, lacrosse, rowing, and soccer programs to move out of their trailers and into a new space and new locker rooms. I will say that Mark Llewellyn and I often talk about the fact that being with the Harrisons is like being with family in the very best of ways. Marjorie, I really want to thank you for the care that multiple generations of Harrisons have provided to our university. It is my honor to turn it over to Marjorie, but I ask that you join me in one more round of applause for her. And I'm hoping
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to add some family lore to the nuts and bolts of our gifts to UVA. I believe it will round out the motivation for the gifts and the depth of respect that the family holds for this fine university. As previously noted, 1936 was the year our father, who was raised on the James River in Hopewell, Virginia, was a first-year student at UVA, living in a boarding house which backed up to the railroad tracks, and the train noise was part of the charm. At UVA, he worked hard, and he graduated in 39 and from law school in 41. As he aged, the UVA years took on an importance that cannot be overstated, and I believe he credited UVA with any and all career successes he enjoyed. He had a stable of life lesson quotes that he repeated with conviction, and he repeated them often. One of his favorites was, "In life, many things can be taken from you, but never the power of a fine education." He and my mother paid back his debt to the university in many ways. One can certainly see that the family finds it difficult to pass up a naming opportunity. For the past 22 years, my four siblings and I have been the stewards of two foundations that will sunset in a couple of years. We've had the honor and the responsibility to research not-for-profits within our communities and nationwide. Annually, we send gifts to about 70 worthy causes. It's been a remarkably enriching process, and we're all proud to have been involved. The gift to the Olympic Sports Complex was not something we came up with. We told Jim that over and above medicine, we didn't have a firm opinion as to what to do with some of the funds. We asked him what were the most important things that the university needed. He took a few weeks, and then he proposed the Olympic Complex. We knew that football, baseball, and tennis probably had lots of underwriting, and in most cases, but not all, lots of success. He informed us that as beautiful as the grounds are at UVA, the facilities, i.e. fancy double-wide trailers, were not sufficient for a wide variety of sports, including lacrosse, field hockey, cross country, and softball. Attracting student athletes who had plenty of first-class schools to choose from is important, which makes facilities very important. We hope the complex will be a game changer. A gift to medicine was our number one priority. Our mother was treated at UVA for Parkinson's for over 10 years, and Dr. Manning saw her regularly, as she did our father and later our brother David, as they suffered the ravages of Alzheimer's. The space and the technology in the Harrison Family Translational Research Center will be impressive, but more importantly, any new light that can be shed by the center's doctors and researchers on all neurological disorders will be transformative for the patients and for the Manning Institute of Biotechnology. The gift also includes 2 professorships, one in neuroscience and one in neurodegenerative diseases. We're proud to be a small part of the bright future of medical research at UVA. Thank you for inviting me to speak. And other than questions about family details, I encourage you to ask questions of Carla Williams and Craig Camp. They're the experts. As my father would have said, and he often did, we just bask in their reflected glory. Thank you so much.
like to add?
Thank you. Ms. Marjorie, thank you so much. Thank you to you for your support, the support of your family, for your continued support of UVA athletics. Your gift impacts our entire athletics department. It allows 500 student athletes across 12 sports to move out of those double-wide trailers, and we are so thankful. Your gift also allows us to establish a permanent home for the Center for Citizen Leaders in Sports Ethics, which is training for leadership development, career development, personal development, and academic support for 800 student athletes across 27 sports, including football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball. It also allows us to hold true to our values, one that your parents first supported, in particular your dad, David A. Harrison III, and that is to develop amazing young people through competitive sports. So on behalf of current and future student athletes at this great university, we say thank you.
Marjorie, so many thanks to you, and please extend those thanks to the rest of your family. Your contributions to the School of Medicine over the years have been extraordinary. The Harrison professorships, they're coveted by our people in the School of Medicine, and they're incredible in attracting new individuals to participate in the School of Medicine. So we're thankful for your past gifts. But this gift is just transformative and amazing. So having been involved in research for many years, we've made great advances in cardiovascular research. In the last 15 years, incredible advances in cancer. But the tough nut to crack, the place where we've not made the advances is in the neurological diseases. And Alzheimer's is probably the one that is most difficult. But if you look at the incidence of Alzheimer's disease, about 1 in 9 people above the age of 65 have Alzheimer's. If you're lucky enough to make it to 80, almost a third of people have Alzheimer's disease. And I think all of us in this room are going to make it above 80. So we need to find a solution to that problem. It is an incredibly difficult problem, but only with your gift and the transformational work we'll be able to do with that in the Biotech Institute, I think we can make great advances. So I extend incredible thanks to you and your family. This gift will be transformative, and we will make a difference. We will care for people in a different way as a result of your giving. Thank you so much.
Hi, Marjorie. Just really quickly, on behalf of the Board of Visitors, I want to thank you for your incredible generosity in Alzheimer's and supporting our sports programs. As a devoted sports fan and supporter of the university's Olympic Sports Complex, your gift will build facilities that will enhance these programs and will help us continue to attract world-class coaches and student athletes. So once again, we're most grateful, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Marjorie. This is Paul Manning. I appreciate so much you partnering with us. You know, neurodegenerative diseases are going to be a big focus of the Institute. We are getting close on many of those diseases with gene therapy and specific antibodies, downregulating inflammation. So Parkinson's, ALS, Alzheimer's, based on what I see in the biotech world, we're getting closer and closer. And this university will see cures for those diseases in the not too distant future. And it's because of gifts like you and being able to support this and being specific about it, we're going to move this a long way. And I really thank you and your family for this. This is incredible for our family to be able to partner with people like you and your family to actually bring these cures over the goal line. And so I can't thank you enough.
So, Marjorie, on behalf of our Advancement Committee, I wanted to thank you very much for taking the time and share your thoughts with us. We hope sometime you'll be in Charlottesville and can attend one of our meetings so that we can thank you in person. But in the meantime, a very, very special thanks to you and to the family for all that you're doing, have done, are doing, and it's really making a huge positive impact at the University of Virginia, so thank you. So are there other questions or comments or thoughts before we adjourn the meeting? Hearing none, thank you all very much, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thanks for being with us, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you.
Maybe take a five-minute break because we need to let some people get into the room and switch over. So fair enough.
Yeah.